For the week of December 14th, 2012, we are talking about the Dark Souls 2 announcement, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, COD Blops, and Dead franchises. Welcome to the fifth level. I'm Kole.
I'm Dennis.
I'm David.
I'm Ben.
And welcome to The Level, a podcast for people who love video games. Our iTunes success is continuing apace, fellows.
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah. We have been new and noteworthy since I believe Thursday, which is great. I think we're on the front page of the featured iTunes video game podcast right now. We are occasionally up and down the charts, and we have a bunch of reviews. So I would like to thank every single one of you who have gone and written reviews, because you have helped bring more people into the fold. And for that, each of us here thanks you, I assume, unless there is a dissenting opinion.
Wow,
Yeah.
we kind of sound like a call.
Do you want to know how I tell you to stop praying?
You ask us what news stories there are? Ah, of course.
Where's my bell? Well, guys, occasionally we do this thing called The Brief, where we talk about video game news, news in the video game realm. Does anybody have something they feel is pressing or urgent? Otherwise, I will go to lead us off.
Lead us
Go
off.
for it.
Okay, so Valve, Gabe Newell, Steam, all of these are important things in the PC gaming world. I remember the first gaming PC that I bought, well, I upgraded my family's current PC, but I replaced all the parts with this stuff, was in order to play Half-Life 2. And I still have that. It's sitting in a basement gathering dust because my shitty laptop now runs faster than it. But I digress. Yeah, buying a gaming PC, it's a big deal. And that's kind of a barrier to entry for somebody who doesn't want to go through that rigmarole. And apparently this is something that Valve's Gabe Newell acknowledges. Now, it's been rumored for a while that Valve is going to get into the hardware business, but it's getting a little bit more, tangible. So this so-called Steam box would be, a hardware specification like this is this year's Steam box. It's a PC gaming console, meant to compete rather with Xbox, PlayStation, all these kind of things. And yeah, Gabe Newell has come out and admitted that they are working on a tightly controlled hardware platform to run games from Steam on. So yeah, I think that's a pretty cool thing. How about you guys?
That would more or less make consoles obsolete. I mean,
kind of.
I mean. Oh, my considerable bias aside, I do
Right.
think the strongest draw of consoles is the fact that you can just they're plug and play.
Right. It's
Just buy it and start playing.
it's standardization.
Well, after you download the patch.
Right.
See, but that's what I'm talking about. Like, even if you look at it, consoles now have pretty much all of the negative sides of PC gaming. Except for that, it used
Right.
to be the big advantage of consoles is, I don't want to deal with installs and stuff like that. But now it's probably more annoying on console.
Right. I mean, it kind of seems like they're meeting in the middle,
Yeah.
I mean, especially like if you look at the original Xbox, not so much the Xbox 360. The original Xbox was built with off-the-shelf parts to be what would be a high-end gaming console of that time, and it was just given a special DVD drive that read certain kinds of discs, and yeah, you just go nuts. And so to answer your question, Dennis, which was what do they mean by tightly controlled, just kind of like, hey, we're going to pick this best part here, based on our knowledge of hardware right now. We're probably going to negotiate with people to get prices down and to sell you this thing, and that it's going to run games from this year, and so on and so forth.
I think that sounds really good for a couple of reasons. One, I think it's good because it makes it more competitive for the companies, which is probably going to be good for the consumers because If they develop this and this comes out, I think it'll be very tough for Sony and Xbox to kind of match the value that they've shown to customers in the past, just as far as them treating it as a service as opposed to a money making thing. But also, I think also this is good because I think the big barrier to entry for PC gaming is for a typical person, kind of what you were talking about, Cole, is you have to kind of upgrade your computer to play the current up-to-date games, and that can kind of be a bigger challenge to somebody if they don't have a computer that's upgraded like that. You know, they might need a new graphics card, so then they have to buy a new one, and then they have to install themselves, and they might not want to.
Well, not only that, but like, oh, is this and this will reveal my age. Is this a VGA graphics card, or oh no, it's PCI Express? Well, is it PCI Express? 1, 2, 3? Who knows? Maybe I have to replace my motherboard, and oh, I can't put my old processor on here because they changed to a new socket type.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like if you replace one thing, like really you can only replace the RAM and still keep your system without gutting anything. And even that might not be the case. What if it takes DDR2, DDR3? Who knows? DDR Revolution, DDR Revolution Max? I don't know.
Wow.
But at this point, I feel like I have to say something, which is that this is what Macs have been doing for years. Just kind of like, here is our console, here is this configuration, and yes, there is a little bit of room to grow, and there's a whole line that's meant to subvert that with the Mac Pros. But you're just kind of like, do you want a computer that'll work really well? Go ahead, here it is, buy it, don't worry about it. Second of all, Steam, they just made a really big deal or Valve made a really big deal out of supporting Steam on Linux now, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I can't imagine this running Windows stuff. So that might actually reduce some of the appeal if somebody's like, wait a minute, I'm buying this computer that can't run Windows or can't run, maybe can't even run a desktop operating system. Like, it just boots into Steam and it has, and it has the big picture mode installed on it.
Yeah, but I mean, my PS3 can't run Windows either, so.
Used to run Linux. Now I can't. Then it got hacked.
We won't go into that. I think the other interesting thing is that if the kind of movement that we've been seeing needed a period, this is it. That this kind of marks the end of the graphical arms race that's been going on pretty much since consoles were invented. In that, this is Steam saying, we're going to put out specifications that are good enough for this year's worth of games, and we might update that every once in a while. But I think you'll see developers now kind of designing to those specifications or within those specifications instead of always trying to push the limits and just max out what is possible. It's like, well, we've kind of arrived.
There is such a thing as good enough, but good, like today's good enough looks woeful compared to even today's like holy shit, or next generation's good enough. There's always going to be room to march forward, I think. And that might be something like not Sleeping Dogs. What is that? Maybe Sleeping Dogs?
Sleeping Dogs, yeah.
The
John Woo film made it into a decent game.
No, the one that's coming out. It's got the crowd
in Chicago.
Scenes. Yeah.
Oh,
It's like the cyberpunk.
Watchdog.
Yeah, Watchdog. There we go.
There is a game called Sleeping Dogs.
Sleeping Dogs was also pretty good.
Yeah, that was the true crime game. I mean, you look at that, and like that, and in no way is that going to run on current gen consoles. You look at Star Wars, 1313 or whatever that is. That isn't going to run on current gen consoles. And it might not be just kind of like, wow, is this photorealistic? But it's like going from the Wii version of Dead Rising to the Xbox 360 version of Dead Rising, or even intergenerationally going from Dead Rising 1 to Dead Rising 2. The amount of stuff that they're able to put on a screen is a really big deal, and that, in one sense, it's controlled by the processor, like how many of these things can I keep track of, but also how many of these discrete calculations can I do graphically to, put these on the screen without choking on this, everything I'm trying to put out.
Although I do think that in terms of strictly how photorealistic can we make it, we have, at least to a certain degree, arrived.
I don't even know. I don't even know.
I don't know. It just doesn't seem like I'm seeing that many meaning increases in them. And also, it seems like most of the games that maybe this is just what's in style right now, but most of the games that people talk about that have, good graphics do it via, are stylized.
Stylized, yeah, and there are shaders and stuff. Yeah.
They have good aesthetics, which may or may not be hand in hand with good graphics.
Right. It's EverQuest 2 versus World of Warcraft. My rejoinder to that is Retina.
Yeah.
And 4K.
And what is it? 4K, yeah.
Yeah, Retina and 4K. I mean, like that.
What's the first movie that's coming out to be shot in 4K?
Most movies now are shot in 4K, actually. I think you're referring to The Hobbit, which is being put out at 48 frames a second, which, when you hear the extrasode for this week's Watch Out for Fireballs, you will hear me go on at length about. So that'll be out next Thursday when you're hearing this. Yeah, so that's a higher frame rate, although that gets into like cinematic standards and things like that.
Right, but your eye can only see like 70 frames per second, something 60?
I think it's 60, yeah.
Something like that. 60 is the accepted one. You can actually watch something above 60 frames a second, but you'll get nauseous because it's too much information. Beyond that point, all that matters for frame rate is control accuracy, because every input that you do is tied to a frame. So that's why Call of Duty running at 60 frames a second feels better than another shooter running at 24 or 30, because it's more responsive on a particular level. So that's all getting into the weeds. But I guess what I'm trying to say is when we hit the ceiling of what quote unquote HD has to offer, we start pushing more pixels, and that makes it, more feasible. So we're pretty good for where HD is right now, and 4K may be way off into the mist. But, I would expect over the next 2-3 years for there to be a lot more Retina and Retina-esque displays out there. And
what's Retina?
Retina is, 326 dpi, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is Apple's display standard on their new MacBook Pros and on the iPad, the full-size iPad, and on the iPod Touch iPhone. Yeah, so anyway, there's this room here, and there is, a certain amount of like, okay, we're going to take this and codify it and standardize it. But this is Valve seeing a room for them to make money. They've gone from being, a developer of, some very, very good games to being a retailer/publisher with Steam as a digital distribution platform. And now they're going to be, for all intents and purposes, at least as this experiment.
Vertical integration.
AKA the opposite of what Nintendo needs to do.
They're pulling a reverse Sega. Anyway, yes. Does anybody have another story?
Have we discussed, apparently there's been some complaints about the most recent Humble Bundle?
Oh, the THQ one?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we have not discussed that just yet.
I guess, one, it's no longer indie, because THQ, despite having about as much money as your average indie startup, is not indie. But the big complaint seems to be that, one, the games are not digital rights management free, and two, they don't run on Mac.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this, Kole, as our resident Mac user?
Well, I thought about buying it. I thought about picking it up, and I think the time has passed. Unfortunately,
you have 22 hours, 9 minutes, and 30 seconds.
Yeah, that bugs me that they don't have that at this point. I just buy these things to support charity and to get games that I may eventually want to be able to play. So that's good. So that bugs me. Man, so the whole like used to be cool, man. Like what? Does that work on anybody? Is anybody else here angry about them not being indie anymore, even though they don't call it indie when they do this kind of thing now? Does that bother somebody?
I was going to say not especially. My big question is, can you still decide how much of your payment goes to charity versus to the developers?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry. For some reason, I was under the impression that everything went to the developers regardless.
No.
Never mind. Then I'm completely cool with this.
Right.
I
right.
am a little disappointed that they didn't name it like the arrogant corporate bundle.
I'm gonna steal a line from Griffin McElroy on the besties. You have to admit, going to the public and saying, "Hey, give us anything, please," is pretty humble.
Okay.
There's humility there. But I guess what I'm trying to say is you would have to be stupid not to think that, okay, we can save this publisher who's been making some pretty damn good games recently. I can give to charity, and I can also get Saints Row the Third, Dawn of War. That Red Faction game is bullshit. I don't care. Darksiders and Metro 2033. Like, for whatever I want, for whatever I want to say, so long as it's above $5.72. You know, so like, quit bitching. Like the indie stuff will be back. Don't worry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this
Yeah.
a Christmas deal, or are they gonna unleash another Christmas deal in a couple of weeks with indie games?
Maybe they'll do that. I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
But I mean, the humble bundle was never a way for the publishers to get money, or for the indie devs to get money, right? It was a nice thing. They agreed to be part of the bundle in order to, you know, just like be a part of this thing. They'd already had these games on sale for a really, really long time, and like whatever they were going to make off of it, they made, and this is just bonus stuff. And so I see this as THQ doing a fire sale and reaching out to a place where they know people are going, you know, they're going to get their games in front. And this is a goodwill measure more than anything.
Well, and pragmatically for the indie thing, it probably is a lot exposure. I mean,
Yeah.
to a certain degree.
Yeah. And so, you know, you get runoff sales of people who say like, oh, I wish that I would have bought that while I was there, but I really want Meat Boy, so I'll drop $10. Or,
Right.
you know, yeah. Okay, so you can donate to the American Red Cross or Child's Play. That and you can actually choose individually like what your split is. So
Nice.
between the two of them. So I don't know. It's like an appeal to like I can't think of anything I abide less than like an appeal to indie cred. And that's given my general disposition and the music and stuff I listen to, and the games I enjoy playing. Oh man,
I will say there have been actually a good number of games that maybe I didn't just buy them for this reason, but the thing that pushed me over to I decided to buy them was because I liked the developers.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Which I mean, I guess then is a valid reason for people to shy away from the indie bundle or not pay for it by saying, you know, you guys have DRM problems or whatever. So, you know, I don't think that's cool. Thus, I do not want to give you my money. But yeah, I think it's just kind of an overall change of mindset in the way that we use our dollars.
It's patronage. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I got a brief story as well. If nobody else has any
Go.
that they want to interject,
Do it.
It's a follow up to last week with the VGAs, which I feel has the same problem with ATM, where you want to say the last word in the acronym with it. The VGA Awards, but
So what's a recursive acronym? No, that's something else.
yeah,
It's BYOB, where the final B stands for BYOB.
bring your own an acronym. Yeah. So last week I mentioned that people could vote. Wasn't sure if their vote mattered or not, but they could do it anyway. But the VGAs were last Friday night, hosted by Samuel L. Jackson. From what I saw of it,
Awesome.
yeah. From what I saw of it, it was kind of hokey or a little bit hammed, but whatever. But I thought I wanted to share the results with you guys in case you had not heard them. As far as the awards go, the best PS3 game of the year, they voted Journey.
Nice.
The best Xbox 360 game of the year, they voted Halo 4. And the best Wii U game of the year, they voted Super Mario Brothers U, since that's the only Wii U game that's out for it. But the surprise, and something I thought Cole might like, the best game of the year, they voted the Walking Dead franchise.
Yep.
Did
Yep.
you hear about this?
Yes, I
Was this-
did. And my heart grew 3 sizes that day.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's awesome. So that, I mean, I think that might be officially on my queue now, or on my clog, if you will. But
all it took was Spike TV saying, "Go get him."
I will do anything Samuel L. Jackson or Morgan Freeman tells me to do.
Especially if he shouts it at you,
Yeah.
which he generally
Tired of
does.
these motherfucking bugs. Motherfucking Wii U launch.
But yeah, it was actually pretty funny because a couple of the guys from the Idle Thumbs podcast, they were on the stage when they presented the thing. I think one of them spoke. I believe Nick Brecken was the one who spoke. Yeah, no, that's it's so weird because the ceremony itself is an embarrassment. But
Yes.
so we unanimously agree. The ceremony itself is an embarrassment, but they're like straight up on point with a lot of with the awards, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did they have like runners up?
No, but they have so many categories that everybody should get an award.
Well, just because I don't know what. Whenever I'm watching a lot of these things, like the fact that Journey won, I think very very obviously, Journey should have won. But I kind of when I hear that, I feel like, well, yeah, of course the game that makes a very very strong statement for video games is Art won. But other than that, of like the games that were kind of close, which one did you think was a little better?
Well, the thing with the category too is that was the only PS3 exclusive. All the other games were cross-platform.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
PS3.
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh. The thing that, sorry, this is my blatant, fanboyism coming out, but the Wii Nintendo's winner was a mega franchise sequel, and Microsoft's winner was a mega franchise sequel, and then Sony's winner was this indie darling hit that is this great artistic statement, as well as a great game. And for me, I was like, yes, I am on the winning team. That just made me very happy and feel superior to people who don't like Sony.
Let's be clear here. There's only a team insofar as there are people who either cannot afford both systems or choose not to buy one.
Yeah.
That's fair. No, I also saw again blatant fanboyism coming out. SSX won an award, although it was for the best individual sport game category, which I think
Individual sport.
They get really specific.
Yeah. Well, and that got me thinking, like, just looking at the different awards, what is the right way to categorize the awards? Because right now we kind of do it by genre and by system, but I think that feels like it falls a little short in my mind. So I actually, target market. I actually wrote down a couple of thoughts on like what awards categories could be. So like I had things like, and I think they probably already had this, but like best character, most immersive experience, best integration of mechanics and theme. So I think when a game really stands apart for me, it's because the game that I'm playing, the things that I'm doing, tie very clearly into the message or the story that the game is trying to impart. And I think that's something that a lot of games don't really do on the same plane. Like, the story is about this, but the mechanics are a first person shooter or whatever you want to call it. Whereas something like Braid, the two tie very closely together. So I thought that would be an interesting award of just saying what game did the best job of tying its mechanics and its themes together.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like dividing it up by system doesn't make any sense at all. You Dennis, would like the DICE Awards,
okay,
which is handed out in Las Vegas every year, and most of it they break it out into genre. So you have the stuff that you would expect. There's action game, adventure game, family game, Little Big Planet 2 one for family game, fighting game, stuff like that. But there's also
wait. LBP2 was this year?
No. This was that's weird. It was 2012. Is that right?
No,
it came out in 2011. So it was for the year of 2011, but it was
Okay.
the 2012 awards. But you had something like outstanding achievement in animation, which was Uncharted 3, outstanding achievement in connectivity, like multiplayer stuff like that, Portal 2, gameplay engineering, Skyrim, online gameplay, original music composition, a bunch of stuff like that. So specific achievements that a game got. Yeah. So that's a big distinction between like what game that happened to be on the Xbox. Well, yeah.
They also distinguish between action game and adventure game and do not lump that into one category at the DICE Awards.
They are different things, and it bugs me because an adventure game is, like, to my mind, is around exploration and puzzle solving. Which, if you look at the nominees here, I don't know when these were given out, so I apologize. But they have like LA Noire, Portal 2, Skyward Sword, and Uncharted 3. I would call Uncharted 3 an action game, actually. But Arkham City 1. So all of those are good. I don't like when adventure games are lumped in with action.
But I suppose they have to have console specific awards so that Xbox and Wii get something. So.
Well, but it's also
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? No, but they also have like really really bullshit ones at the VGA, which are like best performance by a human male. And so like, or a human female. And so they'll like try and pull some shit where like, Steve-O will be in a football game or something. And they're like, oh, Steve-O, so he can come and, promote, it's like he shows up. So they're trying to get actors to, to come there to like legitimize it. And it's never happened. The only one that I agree with, they had Jennifer Hale. They nominated Jennifer Hale for Mass Effect. And
Femship.
What's that?
For Femship.
Yep, for Femship, for Mass Effect, for playing the female Commander Shepard, and I believe she won. Which, like, okay, cool. That's like awarding somebody's performance. That was a legitimately awesome performance, and it wasn't, like actor bait.
I actually feel like if the point of the award show was actually to award and encourage quality, I would say that would actually be the number one thing is. Have awards for the voice actors.
Yeah.
Because it seems to me like that's
where they should be recognized. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's something that one is really spotty, two is really important, and three is very underappreciated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I is probably on Joystick or somewhere. There's some article I read a while back that pointed out that if a actor in a movie had as many people, see it as, a voice actor in, say, like Mass Effect, they would be world famous.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a thing. I mean, I obviously I appreciate voice actors. It is hard work, even if you're not doing acting. It's difficult, and they're putting themselves out there, and they deserve that kind of recognition. Do we want to talk a little bit about the games that were announced at the VGA? Oh, trick question.
Yes.
There's only one that matters. It's Dark Souls 2.
Tomb Raider? Oh.
That wasn't announced. We knew that existed, okay? Dark Souls 2, it's all that matters. I'm sorry.
Yay!
I thought you guys were going to call me out when I did that Steambox bullshit.
We know you well enough to know you weren't going to let it slide. It was finding its way. It was going to be an end boss, if nothing else.
Exactly. Oh God, I'm so excited. Like that trailer. Oh God, that trailer. I'm sorry, guys. My nipples are erect. Anyway,
the first thing I thought of when I saw that trailer for that, I'm like, oh man, we're gonna be talking about this for the next year now.
I'm gonna be honest, you guys. I thought that I didn't have anything to look forward to. Things were getting bleak there for a second. I'm feeling all right now. So here we go.
Do they have a new tagline?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I think it has something to do with bleeding. I forget. Yeah.
See, I was debating like prepare to die.
Prepare to die harder with a vengeance.
So it's Dark Souls 2, but it's the third game in the series, right?
Dark Souls is actually a spiritual successor to Demon Souls, and it's actually
Okay.
it actually it has more of a connection with King's Field, which was From Software's previous venture on the PlayStation and PlayStation 2.
Okay.
It's still a different world, right?
Maybe there's an arguable connection. You don't get me started.
Well, here's your question: Is Dark Souls 2 a direct sequel to Dark Souls?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
If you look at the trailer frame by frame,
Which you have.
it's the same world. I don't know like where it takes place in time, but I'm excited. And they said I mean it's coming out for Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC, I think, which leads me to believe that it's going to be coming out before next fall.
And not the Wii U,
Well,
which was actually going to be my brief story. So it ties in nicely.
okay.
Which is almost as soon as the Dark Souls announcement was made, there was a petition started to get it on the Wii U because right now it's noticeably absent from the lineup, and I think this is kind of the first in what I would expect to be many shunnings of the Wii U by I'm going to say serious game developers. I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but in for more hardcore games. I think this is the first kind of sign of trouble that is going to plague the Wii U throughout its life cycle.
Well,
Because when we think of a system that really stands up and takes a stand against the current trend towards casual gaming and in parts almost roguelike feel to their games, we really think of the Wii. I mean, that's
Right.
definitely their target market.
Well, I can see what they're talking about, especially from a technical standpoint. Look at the two of them. You have the Xbox 360, which has an ATI Radeon or AMD rather Radeon based GPU. So does the Wii U. You look at their CPU; both of them have IBM Power PC architecture, right? Like porting it over wouldn't be difficult. And I say this primarily as a caveat emptor. I'm not a technical expert by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. Isn't there always, though, a learning curve that comes with learning how to develop for a new system?
Yes.
And it's, developing for the PS3 is a very different thing than developing for the Xbox 360.
Well,
So when you talk about just porting stuff over, that's actually a lot more complicated.
That's because the PS3's processor architecture is literally from the moon.
Yeah, it's what is it? Non-symmetric multiprocessing.
Yeah, it's cell
considered
based.
like highly experienced. It's like I want to say like at Cincinnati, I think there's like people doing research in that area.
Right.
Yeah, like people getting their dissertations and crap like that.
Right.
Interesting.
So the Xbox 360 has, I believe, 2 cores and it's multi-threaded, and the PS3 has something like 8 or 16, something like that.
Is the Wii U fairly similar to the Xbox 360 then, or
Yes.
or am I right in saying that it's probably going to be a fairly
Yeah.
different dev experience?
People were upset when Dark Souls came out that it didn't come out for the for the PC rather, and there were also people who were upset that it was coming to Xbox. Like, don't put it on there, you're gonna ruin it. Turns out that was a good idea because that game sold like gangbusters. Yeah. So like, I mean, if they see the need to do it, and if there's, if it's kind of like, okay, throw it on or whatever, they're probably going to do it. But they're a relatively conservative developer. I was surprised that they were going to put out any DLC at all for Dark Souls, but they did. Yes, it was with the extra content for the PC version, but I don't see them wanting to put on like, okay, to kindle this bonfire, you need to strike the flint against the steel on your touch screen. I don't see that. Sorry.
Although that's a good point. The game's all about kindling. Why not release it for the Kindle?
Oh, you're right. The Kindle Fire. That way it would run shittily. But anyway, that I digress. Maybe they'll put it on there. I mean, people bitched loud enough that they put Bayonetta 2 on the Wii U. In fact, that's only being made on the Wii U, but that was because people were, saying, Sega, make this. Okay, we'll do it here because Nintendo will help us fund it.
Interesting that the Wii U was left off. Interesting that there's been an outcry. Although, I mean, the petition had 3,000 signatures at the time of the reading or whatever.
I don't know. Do you know 3,000 people?
My Facebook says no. So,
okay. So I guess what I'm saying is, according to you, and I am a solipsist, I don't know 3,000 people, so therefore more people than exist have signed this petition, which is relatively convincing to me.
Yeah, but on the scale of petition strength,
I think we're done with the brief, guys.
Yeah, Dark Souls 2, yay!
I'm excited. I really wish it was coming out on the Wii U, though. By the way, I sold all of my other systems and bought a Wii U.
Have you signed the petition?
3,000 times.
The grind.
So the grind. We play things, then we talk about them.
Yes.
Any questions? No.
I can start off because I don't really have too much to talk about. If that's all right with you guys.
That's fine. I don't care.
Yeah.
Do what you want.
I don't care about this show. Whatever.
Cole was like, I was really excited because I was just going to use my section to keep on talking.
I'll just go take a smoke break. Okay.
That's probably 15 minutes about what it to be.
I don't smoke.
I've been playing a little more Quantum Conundrum, which I can't reinforce how amazing that game is. But since I'd beaten it, I'd started going through and doing all of the challenges where they have every room is a puzzle, and they have challenges to beat a puzzle in under a certain amount of time, and they also have a challenge to beat a puzzle in under a certain amount of shifts. So changing dimensions so many times. You doing okay there, buddy? You thinking of
He's the one who took the smoke break. Are you all right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm fine. I'm still alive. Oh, no.
Is there something you want to share with the rest of us, amazing Larry?
No, I'm afraid I'm coming down with something, so ignore me.
Okay.
It's 3 out of 4 that are getting sick or are sick. So just the thought on Quantum Conundrum is it's got this amazing quality that I think Portal had, where as you're solving the problems or solving the puzzles, you're never quite sure if you're doing it the way the developer intended you to, or if you've found some game-breaking other way to get through a puzzle. And I think that's a really great quality for a game like this to have. And then going through and doing these challenge runs makes you realize just how many ways there are to quote-unquote break the puzzle, or how many alternate solutions there are. Because that puzzle that you spent 20 minutes solving and it took you 84 shifts, now suddenly you're trying to find ways to do it in 12 seconds and using only 6 shifts, which really forces you to get creative.
Right.
So that's just been really cool to see. Is the first time through you're like, I don't know if I'm doing it right, or you test out all these different things and you find this way that you think, oh yeah, this seemed impossible before, and I found the one way that I could have gotten through this, and that required all this hard thinking on my part. And then you go back through, and because of the constraints put on you, you're like, oh hey, there are all these other ways that I could have gone about this that are actually a lot more efficient. Which is cool to see that the game has that kind of depth to it. So
Right.
yeah, Quantum Conundrum, breaking the game, doing challenge runs, etc. Good stuff.
Does it remain charming even after you have played through the main quest proper?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a great game, both in terms of it's got a lot of quirk to it. It's very functionally sound, makes you think, etc. So I've enjoyed playing that.
Cool.
And we'll continue to do so until I've gotten all the trophies.
Get all the trophies.
Here, the cheat have a trophy. All the trophies from that one game, or just all of them in general?
I think as a short-term goal, all the ones from that game. As a long-term goal, all the trophies. Guys, the other day I got an achievement on my PS3. I don't know how. I'm just that good. I guess the one complaint that you could leverage against it is a lot of the hallways and areas that you walk through in between the puzzle rooms are recycled. Like you'll see the same area of the house a lot, which it almost has that. The game almost does it with a wink and a smile because there's actually dialogue where the professor that's guiding you is kind of like, have you been here before? And well, mild spoilers about Portal, but it's almost got that Portal-esque feeling where you're like, are they just like rearranging the rooms while I'm quote unquote going in between, and this is really some sort of psycho testing case.
Right.
Yeah, that's the one thing I could potentially complain about is all the in between areas are the same. But that doesn't bother me. I guess it's a little bit lazy if you look at it one way, efficient if you look at it the other. Having the rooms be different would add nothing to the game other than that every room was, or every hallway was different. And honestly, yeah, it would have been them just to doing it to do it, which wouldn't have added anything to the game.
Right.
Oh,
I don't know. I mean, do you guys think that's a valid reason to make things different? Is just so that it's not clear that you're recycling assets? I know we talked about what was it, Dragon Age 2, right?
I think that this is one of those things where price feels like it's a thing, and I normally don't like talking about the price of games, but it's less upsetting when it's a smaller title that admittedly takes place in a very limited environment. Like you never leave that building, so it's not up to you to expect that you're going to be like, this will be the ice level and this will be the lava level and everybody's going to be happy and here's Helm's Deep. And
what game are you playing?
all of them. No, it's
sounds like an awesome game.
But in Dragon Age 2, it was just kind of like, okay, so you are telling me that this takes place in a whole kingdom, and I'm going to the far reaches of the earth, both above and below, and it takes place over an entire decade, and every cave looks the same, and my characters don't visibly age. Like that just comes across as laziness, whereas with Quantum Conundrum, it comes across as thrift. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I hadn't thought about it from the angle of that actually probably significantly compressed the download size. That's the one thing I could complain about, but at the same time, I totally understand it and am not bothered by it. I also started playing Bioshock 2.
Oh yeah, you've played this before, right?
No, I played Bioshock.
Okay.
I played Bioshock.
No, Ben played Bioshock 2.
Yes, I have.
That's correct. Yes. So, yeah, Ben, please feel free to chip in. I'm very, very early in the game, though. So no spoilers, please. I'll share my first impressions because that's really all I have. Which is that the aesthetic of that world just remains as strong as ever. And kind of you just immediately from walking into the first room, the kind of environment you're in and the tone of the game. And it just all syncs up so perfectly. Which is really cool. I think that the Bioshock has a very strong visual identity, and Bioshock 2 definitely cashes in on that. I'll be interested to see how Bioshock 3 kind of innovates on that, because it is a different city, and kind of a different mythos.
You mean Aeroshock? Not Aeroshock. God, Bioshock Infinite. Yeah, that was the working title. That was the working title. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just it'll be cool to see if they can bring that same level of design and togetherness to a new city, which I'm sure was kind of a fun challenge for the artists.
Right.
So that'll be fun to see.
I can't wait for BioShock Infinite. It's going to be so good.
And in a way, I'm glad
if it comes out.
I mean, everything comes out eventually, aside from The Last Guardian.
Oh,
Sorry.
Cole.
Just salting the wound.
Oh, we should have saved that segue.
I'm sorry.
Oh, but yeah. So that's just visually, I love the game. The game does a couple things differently to kind of show how it's different than Bioshock very early on. I think that was nice for them to kind of mix things up in unexpected ways early on. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say that you can now because you play as a big daddy, go kind of outside the traditional areas of the city and walk
Right.
around on the ocean floor. Then also the other minor thing I noticed is that you now have a tool where you can hack from a distance, and hacking has been significantly changed from the first game, which I actually did not like. Ben, I don't know if you have thoughts on one hacking system versus the other.
I know that the one of the first one got tedious towards the end. I forget what the hacking system was in BioShock 2. So can you refresh my memory?
Yeah, it's just a little timing thing where it's like the Hot Shots golf meter, where a little dial goes back and forth, and you have to click X to stop it in the green zone to continue.
Okay.
Ooh.
So there's no thinking or puzzling behind it. It's a puzzling and reflex thing, which kind of goes counter to the idea of hacking.
So you're not playing Pipe Dream.
Yeah, exactly. No, you've stepped away from that, and I agree. It was kind of a little tedious towards the end, but I would have loved to see them streamline it while still keeping that puzzle element.
Right.
Yeah. Perhaps we can save this for a multiplayer question for another podcast, but like what games has done the best hacking in video games? Or like the best mini games within video games?
Yeah. Let's table that. I don't want to discuss that right now, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am making
Good
a
idea.
note.
The final thing I'll say about Bioshock 2 is that at least so far it's doing a really really good job with scarcity. I always have just enough plasmids to get me by. I'm consistently running out of ammo right at the end of a fight, and need to start changing things up to finish the fight. And that's something I really appreciate, because especially after playing Borderlands 2 for so long, where you have infinite money, effectively. There was never an instance in Borderlands 2 outside of the first 5 minutes where I did not have enough money to buy exactly what I wanted. Which, that's not the point of the game, so, I don't begrudge it that. But Bioshock definitely manages scarcity well. And we'll see if that's just because I'm in those early stages, and then later on I'll become this, all-powerful, rampaging...
Underwater tycoon.
Yeah, basically. Tycoon, that's an interesting word to describe it. I was going to go with Goliath, but...
Underwater Utopia Tycoon.
Yeah.
Can you still go wrench ninja on people?
No, you can go drill ninja on everyone.
Yeah, because you have a drill.
Yeah.
And that takes
Which
gasoline, right?
That does, and that's kind of a nice thing. Like, it's always a good melee weapon, but it's super effective. It's super effective.
You use
when you
They're all fire-based people.
Yes.
Yeah.
when you have fuel for it, and then when you run out of fuel, you can still bash people around with it. But it's not nearly as damaging. And then always, if you shock someone or use some sort of plasmid on them first, and then finish them off with a drill, that's also more effective. But I'm kind of disappointed by two things. One is the animations for the drill. It actually, it's very generic. It's almost like the characters that you're attacking with this thing don't even interact with it. So that was just kind of weird with me, that for something that was such a staple of combat, that the enemy, when you use the drill on them, just kind of stands there and doesn't do anything until all their health goes down, and then they fall down. Like, dude, I'm hitting you with a gigantic drill. You could at least animate it to show it piercing, or I don't know, something like that. So it kind of breaks the immersion. That's my complaint about it. Not that it's not gory enough. So that's was kind of funny to me. And then the other complaint is that I've seen a lot of frame rate issues. And Ben, I don't know if you had the same problem.
I don't remember having issues with frame rate, but I totally agree with you on the drill. It's at the opposite end of the spectrum of interactivity as the bayonet chainsaw in Gears of War, you know.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Like that's
And
how
all-
I should feel when I use the drill.
All it would take is a particle effect, because like the chainsaw in Gears of War 2, it was helped by the fact that the camera would go crazy when you were doing it, because it was like
Yeah.
mimicking the just kind of like, oh gosh, I'm shaking as I try and saw through this dude's sternum. But
Yeah.
also like the particle effect, like it just threw blackish red goo everywhere, and that's all it would take. Although at that point it would be like, is that the kind of thing they really want to do? Is that the game they want to make? Is it worse for it? Who knows? I don't.
Well, like in the cutscenes, it shows him using the drill in much more realistic. I don't know if that's the right word, but interactive ways. Like you take some people apart in cutscenes, and you're like, yes, that makes me feel powerful. If my drill would do that to people, instead of really no reaction except for the health bar above their heads goes down.
Yeah.
Wait, they have a health bar?
Yeah, I think it did it in the first game
did,
too.
yeah.
When you had your crosshairs over an enemy, it would show how much health they had left.
Oh yeah, no, I guess I forgot that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So more to come on that one, and those are mainly the two things that I have been playing.
Ben, I want to hear what you've been playing.
okay, so I've been playing two things. The big one is I beat Assassin's Creed 3.
Awesome.
So
Nice.
what's up?
Ass Creed Trey.
Oh, excuse me. I beat Ass Creed Trey. What game was I talking
I wanted
about?
I wanted to see how long you could go. I actually had a stopwatch up.
Yeah, so I beat that game. So I think I was nearing completion the last time we talked about it, but finally finished it. I can kind of tell why they make historical games. They don't really seem to write coherent stories set in the present day. Maybe it's because I haven't played the last two games. Maybe I'm just straight up out of the loop, so it's not going to make sense to me. But I don't know. Even if it did make sense to me, I don't know. I was not too impressed by the story writing of it. So I think
is that just for present day, or was it for the historical story as well?
mostly for present day. So for present day, it just kind of didn't make a whole lot of sense. Kind of the emotional tension points they were going for weren't that interesting to me, I guess, and weren't that well developed. As far as the historical story points go, they were mostly okay. They were kind of held down by the fact that they, had key events in mind that they wanted to have to show. Thankfully, they did not show Ben Franklin flying a kite. I genuinely thought that they would show that, but they do show many events like that. So I mean, the historical story is not as bad. That's much better presented. But I think the main enjoyment of this game comes from just exploring the towns that they created, climbing things, and completing various missions that you find throughout the city. So it's fun. It's a fun open world to explore. However, yeah, I think they had a great opening presentation to the game at the beginning of the game. I think that kind of fell apart towards the end, and it just kind of ends, and I was far from impressed, I guess. But
yeah, being that you're talking about the ending, I don't want to know the answers to any questions I would ask. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll
Have
get a sequel? The way 2 did?
I don't know. And I don't want to speculate that much because it might give some things away from the story.
Sure.
So
Right.
Have you tried the multiplayer?
I haven't yet. So perhaps I'll go to that maybe.
Try.
I'm giving you homework.
Yeah.
All right. I might do that.
Try it.
So do you guys have any other questions about the game as a whole?
That's about what I expected.
Okay.
I'm not surprised one bit. I mean, and I was about to say something that would come across as dickish, but I'll just say it. Especially if you haven't played the previous ones. Yeah. Like when I jumped right in at number 2, it was a little bit disorienting to me, until those old plot lines were either explained or just kind of faded away into the mist. And the present day stuff always struck me as a little bit like, oh, we like Deus Ex. Why don't we make this like Deus Ex? And so, like, what if everything is a conspiracy? Ooh. Yeah.
Does Desmond ever like get off his butt and actually, be an assassin by being an assassin?
Yeah.
This game does feature some missions in present day.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are no open world present day maps, however. So it's more like a Mass Effect 2 type of bite-sized mission sort of thing. So yeah.
Oh, what was the other game you were playing?
The other game I've been playing, a multiplayer game, since we can kind of segue from that, is I've been playing more zombies with Black Ops 2. You mean? I mean, what game am I talking about? I'm talking about COD Blobs.
Thank you.
Now you guys know what I'm talking about.
Thank you. That's all I asked.
So I've been playing COD Blobs. I've been playing the zombies on it. Still transit, so still the same game type. Surprisingly, I have not played the single player at all, or any sort of the multiplayer. It's only been the zombie function of the game, but it is pretty fun. It's very much kind of in a similar way of how, in the Metal Gear Solid games, how they kind of give you the controls and they don't tell you anything about them, and you kind of have to learn and master them on your own.
Right.
The Nazi Zombies games gives you a map and it gives you like mechanics, and it doesn't tell you anything about it. It just lets you figure it out and kind of master it on your own. And so that's kind of where the enjoyment comes from. So on Sunday, I played a four-player match with my brother and some of my brother's friends. And what was cool about it is we were explaining different mechanics to one another that we had not figured out, So there's like this nice, I don't know, it's like opening a package or opening a gift, where you kind of find out all these secret things. Also, one thing that was cool is this was featured in COD Blops, the original, the OG COD Blops. In one of the zombie maps, I think in all the zombie maps, they have a Pack-a-Punch machine, which is a machine to upgrade whatever gun you have into a more powerful one. And then some of them have pretty dramatic changes. So, like, if you have the regular pistol, if you put it in the Pack-a-Punch machine, it then fires grenade shots. So it becomes quite powerful. Anyway, so you can do this with any weapon. But in the most recent map, it's kind of devoid. You don't really find a Pack-a-Punch machine. The way you have to get to it is pretty complicated. You have a map on one part of the level where you have to place a generator and go to another part of the map to where a bank is. You have to open two of the bank doors with grenades. And then if the generator is still up, you can get into the basement of the bank where you can assemble a Pack-a-Punch machine and then upgrade your weapon.
God, this sounds so great.
Go ahead.
I think you can also use the portable generator or something.
Yeah, so that the generator, that's what I was talking about, is what you have to place at another section of the map.
Oh, the little wind thing?
Yeah, it's like a mannequin body mixed with a fan mixed with an airplane propeller.
Yeah.
So basically, there is a COD Blobs version of if you give a mouse a cookie.
Maybe. Yeah.
If you give a generator some power, it's going to want you to go to the bank. If you go to the bank, you're going to need to open some doors. Yeah. That, or probably the more apt comparison would be a Rube Goldberg machine. Right. I'm going to go with that.
I mean,
I was thinking like MacGyver.
You eventually accomplish something, though, in upgrading your weapons if you can do all these feats. But mind you, you're doing all of this while you're being attacked by zombies. So,
yeah.
So it's a pretty interesting experience. But yeah, so I think we played on Sunday and we went. I think the furthest that I had gone, we got into level 19. But it was just a really fun experience being able to, I don't know, figure all these different mechanics out in the game and then master it in some sense. So
right. It sounds mysterious. It sounds like things that I like in games, like especially like very well executed crafting systems where you don't really know what you're going to be making until then. Closest I can think of is Minecraft, actually, where unless you have a wiki open and you're playing it like it's meant to be played without spoiling it, there could be like a certain alchemy like wonder when if you're like, oh, if I put this in the shape of a pick, it'll be a pick.
Yeah.
It also has actually a surprisingly developed storyline.
Yeah, they don't convey it that much, but it might be there.
Yeah.
When you die, does it get to a point where you're just so overwhelmed that you're like, yeah, there's no way I can keep on going? Or do you feel like, again, probably Dark Souls tie-in for you, but do you feel like when you die or when you fail, you can kind of say, okay, that was my fault?
So when you die, what happens is you go down, and then you have a chance to be saved by one of your teammates. And so when you're down, it's typical, and they've done this in other COD games before, where you can shoot other people while you're on the ground. You can shoot the zombies while you're on the ground, and then teammates can revive you. And so if they revive you, kind of no harm, no foul. I think the only issue is you lose some of your perks. So any of so in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, you kind of get a set number of perks with the multiplayer system, but in this game you have to buy your perks to unlock them essentially. So if you go down, you lose all of those. But you still keep your guns, which is nice if you have upgraded guns. So things definitely get tense towards the later levels. You have to learn how to have zombies follow you and then run around in a circle essentially, and be able to not be killed by the zombies. So that's kind of a skill that you have to develop. Because there's no way to kill them as fast as they come when you get to a certain point. Yeah. So does that answer your question?
Yeah. Very cool.
Nice.
So it's a fun game. Also, the one element that's really cool, which for people who play the game, they already know it. The mystery box is one thing you can develop. You get points every time you kill zombies, and that's what you use to buy things like perks or whatever. But one of the things they have is a mystery box, and that you open it up and it'll give you a random weapon. You can take it if you want, or you can just leave it. But that's basically how you get good guns in the game is you activate the mystery box, and it'll only last for maybe about 8 or 10 times, and then it'll just move to another part of the map since it's like 5 stages overall. And so you that's another element of this game is you're constantly trying to find this box to get good guns, and then you try and upgrade them. So yeah, it's nice.
Do you think there would be a market for just releasing this part of the game as like a little downloadable package separate from anything else?
Yeah, I mean, totally.
They haven't.
Yeah, I mean, it's I wouldn't go so far as saying it's a standalone game. Like, I don't know if it would be worth, the full price of a game, but it's certainly being played as if it's a standalone game.
by you specifically.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And many others as well. So yeah, I mean, it definitely functionally, you could play it as its own game. It's kind of akin to a tower defense game or something of that addictive nature. But
well, and if they added more maps, I mean, it would easily be as complex as like a killing floor or any number of indie games.
Yeah, I think so. So who knows?
Now, this was actually one of the things I had from my it's not what you've been playing now, is it? For my grind of the week.
Yes.
The only thing I'd had, though, have you had any trouble finding games?
Like games to buy?
Well, no. The matchmaking specifically for zombies for me has just been awful.
I have not, but that's just been me, so I don't know.
Have you've been playing locally though, right?
No, I've played both. So I've played some games with people on the same network or like in the same LAN or whatever, and I've played also online too. So
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've just the two problems I've been having is one, just it taking forever to find people or to connect to someone and then immediately disconnect, stuff like that. But then also I keep in this one you have to ready up before the game starts.
yep.
So just it'll repeatedly group me up and say, "You're the perfect match for this person who's not actually at their computer."
Right.
No.
And then you'll like X out and go back in, and they'll be like, "Guess what? We've got this person that you're the perfect match for."
Oh.
I'm really surprised given your given your preferences that you haven't dove into the traditional multiplayer more than it sounds like you have.
Yeah, well, it's not Infinity Ward, and even
Yeah.
Infinity Ward is not Infinity Ward anymore. So
This is-
I don't think I will find an experience like that for a while. So,
right, and not till Respawn does their thing.
I guess so. Yeah. So
they-
not for a while.
Are they still running servers for Modern Warfare 1?
I think so. I believe because one of my friends just started playing that game with people that he works with.
Oh wow,
Very cool.
neat. Did you have anything else, Ben?
That's all I have been playing.
Yeah.
Those two.
Well, it's down between you and me, David. Do you want me to go, or do you want to go?
Well, one of the main things I've been playing has been Modern Warfare, so might be a good segue.
Yeah, sure.
Like I said, I've tried a little bit of the zombies. So far haven't been able to get into it really, but it's been alright. Mainly been playing the multiplayer, which I feel like I think Modern Warfare, as a series, all of these, Cudblopsy and Modern Warfare and all these pretty much have the best, I think have the best overall like gameplay shooting of about any of them I've played. In terms of, it seems like they really strike a good balance between kind of tactical and arcadey. But you can kind of tell compared to, I would say, like Modern Warfare 2, it seems like some of the gameplay decisions aren't quite as polished in terms of like the guns don't seem quite as balanced, the score streaks, stuff like that.
Okay.
But I've really been enjoying it. I didn't play 3, so this is probably old news to everyone. But Kill Confirmed is amazing.
Yeah, I hear that's really good.
Oh, I would say it's basically if you took all of the good things about Team Deathmatch, which is basically the fact that that's why people are playing the game is to shoot people, and combine it with just enough of an objective to get all of the good parts of objective gameplay.
Right.
That's basically what you get.
So the premise of Kill Confirmed is that whenever somebody dies, you get their dog tag, or they drop a dog tag, and you don't get a point until you go up and get it. So
Right.
the idea is if you're rolling in a pack, you can you collect your allies' dog tags so
Yes.
that they okay,
Yes.
cool. So you can actually block points by like moving together.
Right.
Yeah.
It also, though, one of the things, and it's almost, kind of an intangible thing but that's definitely has an effect, is it really kind of blunts a lot of the more stupid or tactfullness, lacking in tactics gameplay. I don't know what
Tactless.
that
Tactless?
yes,
Yeah.
tactless.
Wait, is
Uh,
tactless the same thing as tacticless?
I don't know.
I don't know. But, some of that goes along with playing Team Deathmatch. So for
Yeah.
example,
Tactless?
yes,
Yeah.
tactless.
Wait, is
Uh,
tactless the same thing as tacticless?
I don't know.
I don't know. But, some of that goes along with playing Team Deathmatch. So for
Yeah.
example, you can't sniper whore because if you just kill people from the other side of the map, inevitably one of their teammates is going to come along and collect up the dog tag before someone from your team does.
But can't you Full Metal Jacket it and kill somebody and then use them as bait to get other people out and have somebody down there to collect the to collect them?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
you
the
can.
the thing is if you see one of your teammates' dog tags, if you touch it, it just gets rid of the dog tag and no one gets any points for it. But yeah, as you said, instead of doing that, you can try and guard the dog tag instead and kill someone who would try and get a kill confirmed from it and then kind of double your points. So it's kind of like you're doing a double or nothing.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying that's definitely true. What I'm saying though more is it's it does a lot of it takes away a lot of the cheapness because it's not good enough just to get a kill. It's almost you have to get a good kill.
Yeah.
So it's not good enough to just leave some mine lying around at a spawn point that annoyingly kills your enemy when they spawn. You have to be there. It's not it's not good enough to just bunny hop in and shoot a whole bunch of dudes before you get cut down because you have to survive the encounter to collect up all the tags. It takes away a lot of the more annoying things.
I think that's one thing that I've always felt was missing in multiplayer shooters was that there really wasn't that there wasn't a disincentive for reckless disregard for your own life. That is, as long as you could take at least 2 people before you yourself went, you were happy at the end of the day. Your kill death ratio would be pretty strong. And that always I felt encouraged actions that just weren't, like you said, the kind of snipe whoring or noob tubing or just kind of cheap stuff.
Noob
Bunny
tubing.
hopping. Noob tubing.
What's
That's the rocket.
Grenade launcher.
Oh, okay.
Where you run in with a grenade launcher that carries 2 shots in a magazine, blast 2 people, and then die while you're reloading. But you've gotten your 2 kills.
I remember playing Half-Life Deathmatch, and the shotgun was known as the shit gun or the noob cannon.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was cheap, I guess. I don't know.
Which serve their place in that it gives new players something to.
But you're less of a man for even considering using them. So
Right, or more of a noob, we'll say.
yeah.
But where was I going with that? Crap, distracted.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Oh, I felt that it's been missing is this incentive to protect your own life when really your life is meaningless. You can respawn in 5 seconds.
Right.
Whereas just adding this incentive of you need to survive the encounter so that you can pick up the dog tag, I think makes it a lot more intense and adds a layer of depth to it.
Right.
It also, to a certain degree, I guess the type of things you're talking about, it almost makes official. Because there'll be times when I'll see say they'll be out in the open 2 of my team's dog tags and I know that there's a sniper waiting for me to go out behind cover. It kind of creates there's kind of a risk reward analysis you do where I'm fairly certain if I if I sprint out there I can get both tags, but I'm not sure if I can get back to cover. It kind of creates a lot of those types of scenarios.
That's cool.
But on the downside though, something really weird I've noticed, it just the order they unlock guns doesn't make that much sense to me in that none of the until you're level 34 or something out of 50, you don't get any particularly good assault rifles. And they unlock a lot of the specialist assault rifles really early. So like, the one that, there's always one assault rifle that's semi-automatic, stuff like that. And similarly, like I'm still using as my primary weapon a submachine gun that is like a level 4, default unlock.
Okay.
I mean, do you feel like that's them trying to guide you into different play styles, or is it them neglecting the idea? Because whenever I see somebody playing Call of Duty, they're walking around with some kind of automatic or burst fire assault rifle with an ACOG scope. Is that a thing?
Yes.
Please?
Yes.
Okay. A resounding yes from everybody. Something like that. They're looking down scopes with like a skull instead of a laser dot, and they're shooting people in the head with it. So
the ACOG. I remember it well.
Yeah. Well, what honestly my overall feel on some of the negatives of the unlock system or the character creation system as a whole is they really try to make it so that no ability is just must have, every ability's benefits and disadvantages, that sort of thing, which I think is valid. There's something to back that up. The problem is what they end up with is every ability is some situational ability that I don't care about. It's kind of like in Modern Warfare, I think 1 and 2. On like not pretty much every class, I equipped either Juggernaut or stopping power, but at least I felt like my character was more powerful for having done it, as opposed to this where like most of the perk unlocks are things that like I might use like every 5th game.
I see.
There's also there's a couple of bugs. This is a game where you shoot all bullets out of your eyes.
yeah.
Which is really common in a lot of games because that makes the cameras easier.
Well, to be fair, your eyes are also in your chest. So
Oh no, in this your eyes are in your head.
Oh, really? Huh.
And the problem with that is that means you'll get sniped from the other side of the map by a sniper who only part of their head is exposed.
Right.
Okay.
So I mean, just like the moral of the story is that like they aren't paying attention to the little things. It seems like.
Yeah, I personally, I think Tetrarch gets a lot of crap.
Treyarch?
Treyarch, Tetrarch.
No, they've upgraded.
Their next company will be Tetrarch. Yeah.
It's one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been studying geometry for the GRE, so that's my defense. Treyarch, I think they get a lot of crap in terms of I personally think their games are better than Infinity Ward's. At least their stories make sense. But that definitely in multiplayer, even though I think their games are maybe a little more experimental, they actually take some risks. They're definitely less polished.
I mean, there are certain opinions that we know that we're supposed to have. Dubstep is bad. Hipsters are awful. Capitalism works. And Treyarch makes worse games than Infinity Ward. These are just things like people say.
Right.
Even if it isn't that huge of a divide. I don't mean this as any slight to you, Ben, because you have played enough of them to know. But the generally held opinion, and a lot of people is just to dismiss Treyarch stuff, out of hand. Whereas you spend a lot of time playing them, no matter what. So.
And I think it's like I said, I think very clearly Treyarch. Their stuff's less polished and tends to be, I don't know, a lot of different stuff that sometimes that's kind of how you feel like, that was different.
Zombies is one of those things. I mean, they've taken horde mode and iterated on it so much that it's, hardly recognizable, right? We've been talking about COD Blops for a while, so
Yeah.
I'm going to usher us along if that is okay.
That's fine.
I don't want to cut you off if you had anything else you were playing, but we have been going for a while.
The only other thing I picked up World of Warcraft again because like an addict I always go back.
No, that's whatever. You've been off it for about 8 months now.
Yeah.
How long have you been clean?
I got my little chat.
which I probably used to take to play quarters with. Yeah.
The only thing I'd say I found a quest I love. I got to their Arctic level, and one of the quests, some gnome sends you out to check on this pylon they sent out. The Echo 3 pylon. So you go out and as you check on it, a Yeti comes up, beats you over the back of the head, and you wake up in his cave hanging upside down by a thing of ice and have to attack the ice and then fight off the Yeti. So that really made my day.
So after a certain point, and this I mean there may have been a little bit of this in the base WoW, they eventually just descended entirely into pop culture references.
It's hit or miss. I mean, they do a lot of them. They tend to be a lot of a lot of stuff like that where they're retail,
or they will lift wholesale.
Yeah.
All right, look, they made Justin Bieber a playable class. It's gone too far.
Jeez.
I don't know. I mean, we've always had spoony bards, so
yeah. Huh.
Nice.
Cool. So did you roll a new character, or did you just pick up an old one?
Picked up an old one. Still abusing the power leveling system pretty badly. I've actually I got to where I can buy. There's gear you can buy that levels with your character and increases your experience gains, but it costs a lot. So I did some farming, and I've actually managed to destroy the market in gatherable metal, which I'm pretty happy about.
On your server or just in general?
Yeah, on my server. Normally it was the thing where always you would put it up and go away for a while, come back, and it would sell. Every time, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just started, massively farming it and putting it up on the auction house. And my first, 10 stacks of it sold, but now I'm getting to the point where it's just stopped selling. And you look at the auction house and the first page is just all things I'm selling. Which makes me very happy.
That's funny. Huh. Yeah, you'll have to keep us updated on your anything else interesting that happens like that.
So, all right, that's all I've been wasting my life on.
Ah, yes. Aren't we all?
Cole, what are you wasting your life on?
Oh, I don't like to put it that way. I don't like to put it that way one bit. No. So my list, I have 3, but they're all going to be relatively brief. I don't know where the time has gone. I was water parking it this past weekend, which was fun.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wait, Great Wolf Lodge?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, work party. Yeah, so it's the first one, Baldur's Gate, finally came out on the iPad. And I went through the introductory level of that. Did you just squeal with excitement? Somebody made
Maybe.
a noise. No.
That's the one that's Neverwhere Night Zero, right?
Yes. Although there would be people who would set you on fire for saying that, I think. Yeah. So, I like it. It's a little bit hard to see what's happening on screen. It may just be because of where the tutorial takes place and because my character is brown and so is the background. But it's definitely Baldur's Gate. and it works pretty well on a touch screen. My only problem is sometimes you forget what the icons stand for. Like, the screen is ringed with icons that you touch, to interact with things. But without being able to hover over something for a tooltip, you can't figure out what they are without, pressing it. And maybe it has no apparent function at all. So that's kind of a bummer. I wish that there was a way to like double tap on a button or to, two-hand tap on it just to bring up like a brief description of what a button or a spell or an item does. This is I can see, like, I see this as a failure on their part to completely port it to a touchscreen.
Yeah.
Which it kind of seems like that would be what it would be made for. But combat works out generally pretty well. And I'm more looking forward to it for just, the general D&D, role-playing aspects that BioWare is so known for.
Nice. How old is that game?
I want to say 1997, but it might be 1998. Let me look this up real quick so I don't come across as a jackass. 98.
98. Okay, very cool.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it's also out for PC and Mac. I may end up caving and getting it on Mac too, but I wanted to believe that it would be really good on iPad. And since I haven't played much more than, the first, 20 minutes of it, it's difficult for me to make that judgment just yet. Anyway, continuing, Hotline Miami was on sale this past weekend. And so I started playing a little bit of that. Do you know what that is?
I do not.
You do
Top-down shooter, right?
It has some shooting elements. It's more of a top-down brawler with elements of stealth and kind of like some kind of like puzzle solving a little bit. So it's pixelated, and I'll get to that in a minute. But the premise is, you're an unreliable narrator who wakes up in his apartment and he has messages left for him on his answering machine that tell him to go someplace, and there are dudes there that he got to kill, and then he gets money and he goes to an establishment where the same dude every time gives him something for free and talks about the murders he just did, and then he goes back and goes to sleep. I would liken this to if Lone Survivor was was crossed with let's say Grand Theft Auto 1 or 2. So you run around with WASD and you have a cursor where you aim your punches or golf club swings or your gun, and the guards or the gangsters that you're fighting, they run in circles and patrol their area, and it really is up to you to like go up to them as quickly as possible, like to sneak up and then just wham, knock them down. And then finish them off, because if they get a second, they will rip you to shreds. So it really is about getting the jump and moving as quickly as possible. So it's this weird combination of stealth and twitch, which is pretty neat. The game is ridiculously violent for being in a like a more detailed 8-bit style. Like just blood everywhere. Like if you kill somebody with your bare hands, they just like get knocked down. So you have to stand over them and press the space bar, and like he gets down, and then you just like slam their head against the floor until there's like blood everywhere. And like the point is to be distasteful. It's fucking gross, is what it is. And it works. It really makes you not like the things that you're doing. But it controls well enough. I could see it being better with dual stick, but I've yet to get that to work on my machine. Could be because it's not a thing. But it's difficult to get to get Xbox 360 controllers to work with with Windows XP. But yeah. I like the presentation in general. Like I like the weirdness of the writing and kind of the absurdity of the premise, but the graphics are really strange. Like everything has like this shimmery, like wavy both in color and in just kind of like changing size and shifting everything, really like multicolor rainbow effect that goes over it. And even though it's pixel art, the pixels rotate, which really bugs me. To a certain extent. So it's obvious, your dude just has a sprite, but since you can rotate in 360 degrees, they don't have a configuration of pixels for each of those, but they try and maintain the illusion. So instead of being like, this is a grid or a matrix of squares, it's actually really just like, this is really blocky art, and you rotate, which bugs me.
See, I don't know if I like that idea. having not seen it, I probably can't comment intelligently, but just as a principle, I'm a big believer in the constraints that we put ourselves under through certain, mediums or styles, etc. Go a long way towards, making the game better, or, force you to innovate in ways that are true. So pixel art isn't cool just because it is an interesting visual style, but it's also cool because it forces you to think about things differently and design things differently, because you're living by that grid. So to take the pixel art style but not take the constraints, I won't say it's wrong, but I think you're going to lose something there.
It definitely bugs me because the best thing about the game is the way it plays. Like, it's really fast, it's responsive, it's difficult, all of those things. Like, except for the difficulty part, fast and responsive, you don't associate it with that look, right? So just the fluidity with which you do this stuff, it just looks weird when it's in those trappings. So,
although maybe that's part of the point. I mean, it sounds like it's kind of acid trip in a game.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's like I said, the presentation is really good. That little inconsistency aside, the dialogue is pretty neat. Like, after every mission, you get a new animal mask that you wear when you're going out on these crimes that gives you different abilities. Which is pretty neat. There are hidden objects in the world where, if you see something glinting, you'll find collectibles. I'm not quite sure what they do just yet. But yeah.
Now, how is the thing that originally turned me off? The reason I didn't pick it up is a lot of the stuff I read was saying it was just, completely, mercilessly hard. Almost in like, original Nintendo type, way.
That may or may not have been the point that they of what they were trying to do. And I'm not dissuaded from hard experiences, even though I am bad at games.
Dark Souls, Dark Souls, Dark Souls, Dark Souls, Dark Souls, Dark Souls, Dark Souls.
Anyway. And yeah. So like that may be the case. That's not been my experience so far. Just kind of like, once you learn, they're like, oh, if somebody has a golf club, they can kill me in one hit. Like, you learn how to maneuver around that, and it's quick and it's fast paced enough that if you're, if you can think on your feet, you can get yourself out of a bad situation. And the levels are short enough to where it doesn't really matter so much if you fuck up,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's I like it. It was on sale for like $5, but it's I think it's normally like 10 or 15, something like that. Who knows? Maybe I'll keep on playing it, maybe not. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And then my last one, Resident Evil 6. I'm continuing Leon's quest a little bit at a time here. It's so weird. I've got this like love-hate relationship with it, but I don't want to stop playing it. So yeah,
that sounds like a lot of love-hate relationship.
What keeps you going?
Well, what keeps me going is the story, which is, about as ridiculous as you can get. Say, like, I play Resident Evil for the story, but I do. Like, I'm invested in this world, I'm invested in this mythos, and, every character that you see to a certain extent, each of the pairings has somebody who's been there before. And there's been some stuff that's happened so far in Leon's campaign that's been like, oh shit, they're here? And it's like, great. And like that draws me forward. And the scenarios and situations are varied enough to where it's like, I want to see what comes next, which, makes me happy. Although I understand all of the storylines end in China, so it'll be less varied as you go on, but they all begin in their own kind of in their own places. Even if it does like defy, like, it does defy credulity to a certain extent. I don't know if this is spoilers or not, but Leon's story, it starts in an awesome way in a college campus in like a Midwestern town, kind of like Raccoon City, you know? And it's great. You're like going through this town and everything, and you go into this church, and then you go under the church and you find this lab that's under there. It's like, great, here's a lab. But then there's like these tunnels and this stuff. And then it's like, wait a minute, are these like ruins? Fucking shit. This is like Resident Evil 4 and 5. It's like, why did you have to go into tunnels and ruins? Like you could have
the
kept
cardboard
it.
church falls down and it's just a cave entrance.
And there's Wesker and there's lava. It's like, fuck. But
Like ruins make sense if it's under a castle, maybe, but
Yes.
not under a college campus.
exactly. And like they try and make it so that it's the bad guys like lab and stuff like that. But it's like, no, man, no, like no.
Yeah,
So-
because after all, on a college campus, you couldn't find,
Laboratories. Nope. But like that aside, that one area aside, the area design and the scenario design has been really good. What I've seen of China so far looks really good. Game's dark as shit though. I've had to crank the gamma all the way up, but that's just because of my particular deficiencies.
I noticed the same thing on the demo as well.
Yeah.
So.
But I'm going to continue playing it by gum until it breaks me. I guess. I don't know.
5 years later.
So, yeah. Any questions about that?
So does the 6 in Resident Evil 6 mean that it's going to take you 6 years to beat it?
Maybe.
Or-
I don't know. I want to, because like I'm kind of holding myself to, I want to beat this before I go on to like play Dishonored in any real capacity or Assassin's Creed 3. I just want to do that,
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, now you've got slightly less motivation since apparently Assassin's Creed 3.
yeah, it's bad. I can just I can burn it. I can set it on fire, which is good because I'm really cold.
Do you have any feeling on, do you think the fact that they did the, 3 or 4 scenarios was a good move, made the game better or worse?
I mean, being that I've only played partway into one of the scenarios.
Is this the first scenario?
Yes. Well, you can play 3 of them in any order that you want. I don't know if there's a 4th like hidden one, but it's kind of neat because there are areas where they intersect, and you can bring other people in. So instead of being like 2-player co-op, it becomes 4-player co-op or 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to take down like bigger bosses.
That's cool.
Nice.
Interesting.
So I mean, there's some really nice stuff there, and I'm growing on the inventory system, or it's growing on me since I figured it out. I don't so much miss the weapon upgrades because it's less about like, this is my gun, there are many like it, but this is mine kind of thing, and it's more like how do I personally want to play? So it's not like this weapon gets more criticals. It's I, as a person using these skill points, get more criticals with every weapon.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talked about games.
Yay!
Multiplayer.
So it's time for the multiplayer segment where we get your involvement and maybe comment a little bit on our own. This week, I wanted to ask you, and I did ask you, and you responded in great number, actually. What dead franchise or series or property would you like to see revived? And this was spurred on. I read a story on Joystick where Activision came out and talked about Guitar Hero 7, which had only the guitar, none of the extra instruments. It was a 6-string thing, kind of like the Pro Guitar on on Rock Band. It also they had like music videos that they made for every song to play behind what you were doing, as opposed to having the performances. And because they had no money, they could only license some hits from the 90s, and also including songs that were included at least 3 times in previous Guitar Hero games.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Was this like the 3 strike rule? Like
makes me
if
sad.
If we use it 3 times, it's ours now.
I guess, yeah. But it was canceled in early, 2011. But the music genre is dead and gone, and that's something that has gone away. So I wanted to ask people what they saw. So if you want to watch for these, you can look for it on the Facebook group or the various Twitters that we have, Duckfeed.tv, those kind of things. So. Yeah, our first response is from Tyler Crumrine on Facebook, who says there is nothing. It was on Twitter. He says there's nothing I want more than a traditional ogre battle game on iOS, 3DS, or Wii U, so that I can guide my units with a stylus. Are you talking about ogre battle for the SNES or ogre battle tactics, or tactics ogre, as it is correctly called? Because there is a Final Fantasy Tactics, iOS version, and it's pretty good.
See, I think it would have to be the original Ogre Battle, though, because that's the only one where you actually guide, units as opposed to just doing, the square thing.
Ah, true. Yeah, the grid.
Nice. And I've got to agree, actually. I played it a little bit on the 64, and it was a lot of fun, but I never played anything before it or after it.
Yeah, I never understood it. Maybe I played it when I was too young. I'm not sure. But I didn't like that it was auto battle. I wanted to control my dudes. But I was a dumb child. David, what's tribute say?
Am I just supposed to read this? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes, you are. Put some feeling behind it.
It says, I don't really feel that...
Tribute. Just say what tribute said.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm one down.
Yes, you are.
Wow, it's been a long night. Battle Zone.
There we go.
Thanks for the emotion, David.
Thank you. That's all I wanted. Battle Zone, the vector game.
Anyways,
have you guys ever seen Battle Zone in the arcade?
I have not.
The tank one?
Yeah. It's the tank.
But not to be confused with battle tanks for the N64.
No.
But I've played a lot of Flash versions of Battle Zone.
Yeah.
And
it's neat.
it's pretty.
Yeah, it's a good game. I would like to see a multiplayer version of that.
I feel like that'd be a great mobile game. Like with because don't you pretty much just move around and use the move the turret like first person-y?
Yeah, but you also it's the turret remains stationary in front of you, but you control each tread individually.
So with two finger controls, you could probably do that really cool on an iPad.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, one word inspired lots of words. Thank you, Tribute. Yeah. Dennis, say what George said.
Yeah, George says, I don't really feel that you guys honestly gave Tomba a fair shake at all on WAF, so most definitely I would like to see a Tomba 3. And, if I had one soul wish that I could use on getting one sequel, it would most definitely be Shenmue 3. You
don't have to read the last part.
Oh, sure.
He accused us of being bad at games. And that's why we didn't like Tomba. That's what he said anyway. So has anybody played both Shenmue games? Any Shenmue games?
I have not.
I'll be honest, I'd never heard of them before.
They're really good. They're made by the Virtua Fighter guy, Yu Suzuki, and it's kind of a prototypical open world game life sim kind of thing. So you're wandering around this Tokyo town, and you have missions, and there are fighting segments and things like that. You're trying to figure out who killed your father,
you do.
As you do, yes. And yeah, it's a neat little game. I've never played Shenmue 2. I've been curious to do it, but yeah, that's a thing that's been hinted at, but never is actually going to happen. I'm so sorry.
Interesting trivia. Apparently, Shenmue was the first game to introduce the QuickTime event.
Yes, at the very least, it was the first game to provide that nomenclature. There were Laserdisc and FMV games that did that before, where all the gameplay was responding to button prompts on screen. See Dragon's Lair, but that was the first game to call them QuickTime events, and the nomenclature stuck.
Nice.
They call it Milwaukee or the Good Land. But seriously, nobody's going to laugh at that?
I
don't get it.
That's Wayne's
What's
World.
that thing?
Okay. Sorry. Oh, man. Ben, what dead series do you want to see come back?
So I'm gonna read the next one and then tie into that one.
Okay.
Mr. Joffrey Lawton said Spiritual Warfare, and then Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Such a good game, and it would look fantastic in HD. Yeah. So I want to pause in that quote and kind of piggyback on that. I think a great game to come back would be the Knights of the Old Republic games, because I loved me 1, I loved me some 2. The story kind of ended in a good way, but could totally pick back up. So,
But don't you realize that the Old Republic is KOTOR 3 through 7?
I haven't played the Old Republic, so
It's free to play now, so no excuse.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I did not know that. I was so put off by it because it was an MMO, and I'm not an MMO guy.
Yeah, it's free to play. I'm curious. If I had a machine that could run it, I would be trying it. From what I understand, like you can solo everything, and each class's storyline is like its own miniature KOTOR kind of thing. Like you have companions and everything. So yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
Before you continue, I just wanted to insert a quick story on Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, because I completely agree with that
so
suggestion.
good.
yeah.
Yes.
That was the only good thing that came out of Episode 1.
But everything about that game was great, kind of finding the shortcuts and going into Watto's junkyard to buy stuff. But I had rented it from the library to play, and was getting right to the end of my, I think it was like a 3-week rental or whatever it was, and it had a hold on it, so I couldn't renew it. And I was getting right down to the end of the game, and then I came down with, it was like chicken pox or something, where my mom didn't want me interacting with my brothers too closely for fear that everyone would get it. And so she didn't want me touching the controller for our computer, because she said I would just, spread the germs to my brothers. And so I was furious because I was going to have to return the game in a day, and I was on the final Tatooine race. And so I went down into my dad's workshop and found his big workshop gloves, and came back up and proposed that if I wore these while I played, would I be able to finish? And she, I guess, found that amusing enough, or ingenuitive enough to allow it. So I beat the game, with the handicap of having these gigantic workshop gloves on. So,
notwithstanding that you actually should have been wearing a face mask too, but
there's that.
Did you ever figure out what the disadvantage of buying stuff from the junkyard was?
Is there a disadvantage?
My stuff.
There's a damage stat that all of the junkyard items have that always slightly worried me, but I've always wondered what it actually did.
Oh yeah. I think because parts would wear down over time, and I can't remember if you could just I think you maybe had to invest more money to repair them. I can't remember the exact system, but it was never something that, because I don't remember buying my parts anywhere except for in the junkyard.
Right.
Yeah.
David, how about you? Have you been missing anything?
Well, I think probably the biggest dead series I'd like to see revived would be Half-Life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But more realistically, actually, Magi Nation.
Oh yeah, the Game Boy card-based role-playing game.
Yeah, the movie the card game tie-in game that was actually good.
That was actually better known and better than the actual card game, from what I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. It was such a great game. Really well written.
Yeah.
And they had a sequel that I think got released in Japan or something. I don't know, but just it was really well received, and then just dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah. It's a hard game too, but
yeah.
That was the way things went.
Although I guess it's kind of cheating because I did actually find out that they made a there's currently like a free-to-play MMO of the Magi Nation, where
Really?
apparently it's just awful. Like, I guess they took the whole thing and made it all anime style and just more or less took out all the like witty dialogue and self-aware world and stuff like that. That was kind of the point of the game.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think I still have that laying around.
although I've one that caught my eye lower down is Gary's Fantasy Star.
Yeah, Gary Butterfield from Watch Out for Fireballs. Yeah, so I think he's talking about proper Fantasy Star. Which
I never played it. Played those. Those were actually something I always was disappointed. Never came out for console I actually owned.
Yeah, it was a Sega stalwart.
And they were like traditional like Final Fantasy in space, right?
Yeah, that's the impression that I got. I'm sure there are some people who would take umbrage at that, but it was a 16-bit turn-based RPG with heavy fantasy/speculative elements. So, did you just play me off?
Yeah.
I don't know what that was.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Let's see here. Chad Cross on Facebook says, so haters gonna hate because I don't know if it qualifies as a series, but Neverwinter Nights with original BioWare style. But I guess with Dark Souls, who needs anything else? I agree, Chad. Thank you. Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. Neverwinter Nights, that hasn't laid fallow for too long in BioWare terms. Neverwinter Nights 2 and its expansions came out in like 2009. I think, and I understand that they were pretty good. So who knows? Yeah, definitely. I thought you were going to go with haters going to hate because it's not really well regarded. I think Neverwinter Nights, its legacy is going to be the Aurora engine, and just kind of like that's how a lot of people who are currently in the industry got their jobs, was by making maps and campaigns in Aurora, which was their level map making editor kind of thing. Hordes of the Underdark is a really, really good expansion for that. That's fantastic. Like skip over like the main game and Shadows of Undrentide, go straight to Hordes of the Underdark. It's fantastic.
The thing I always had with Neverwinter Nights, the single player, particularly Hordes of the Underdark, was amazing, but it seemed like the multiplayer just never worked the way it was supposed to.
If you found a nice persistent server, it worked really well.
Okay.
Yeah. Let us see here. Dennis Reed Andrews.
Yeah, so Andrew says Chrono Break. Seriously, fuck Square Enix for letting that copyright expire along with all of our hopes and dreams.
See, this was going to be my answer. Not specifically Chrono Break, but I like the Chrono series, and I like Chrono Cross more than Chrono Trigger. That is my cross to bear. That is my controversial opinion to have. That people can, you can take or leave. Love me as I am. Don't try and fix me. I'm not a project. Thank you. And I would have liked to have seen what they could have done. And I sit listening to the Chrono Cross soundtrack every night, and I shed a single tear, and I always make sure it's just one, and then I go about my nightly routine and fall asleep. So, yeah, that was my answer. And finally, Ben, Reed Wills.
Can we please just get a new canonical entry in the Wing Commander series?
So when he says canonical, is there a lot of like fan fiction that's been made for Wing Commander?
I want a game adaptation of the movie Wing Commander.
Yeah, who was in that? Oh,
Freddie
God.
Prinze Jr.
Yes, it was. That was him. That's great. Yeah, I think when he says canonical, he means like there are some games that have taken that in a different direction. Spin-off. So like Free Space, Freelancer, some of those like the typical like 4X kind of thing. Where it's more like you're exploring quadrants and you're mining resources and you're doing dogfights with people. Like EVE Online could be seen as kind of like a successor to that. In that same vein, and I think that this is a specific kind of pain for a specific kind of person, but TIE Fighter,
Ooh,
yeah, I want another one of those real bad.
wasn't there like an X-wing
it
versus
seems
TIE
like-
Fighter game?
Yes,
Yes.
it was pretty
An
good, but it
X-Wing
wasn't
Alliance.
like none of them were as good as TIE Fighter, though, in my opinion. X-wing was pretty good, but TIE Fighter, man, that was where it was at.
It seems like that whole like I don't know, I guess dogfighter game or whatever, that genre has kind of died off a little bit.
Yeah, I think you can directly tie that to how readily available joysticks are. Like used to be like computers just came with them, and now they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've still got your like Ace Combats every once in a while.
Yeah, but that's like arcadey, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you can't really play those. You can't play those that way without a joystick.
Right. Well, you get those people who are like the train simulator people who are just kind of like, I want to simulate a flight from Boston to Salt Lake City, and they do it in real time, and they sit there and they adjust for headwinds. People do this, and they have the foot pedals, and they have apparently large amounts of drugs so they can find things interesting.
They just
Yeah.
drink
Just like
a lot
real
of
life.
beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of falling off of my simulator. I got arrested for drinking while on the job. So in my 25th year in jail, real time.
Real time. Oh man! So thank you everybody for your response. It's fantastic to get all of that.
I believe we have one more.
Oh, do we?
From
Did I-
Dennis?
Did I miss? Oh
Yeah.
yes, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, go.
No, it's fun. There's actually a theme on these, which is Star Wars, because Joel Mary said on my Facebook wall, where I also posted this question, Star Wars Battlefront. Did any of you guys play this series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
my
was
gosh.
that was like our game for like freshman year. You had to have
yeah.
the game people played when they came over to the dorm room.
Yeah. So
Was
he
that
he's
in our
on.
dorm? Since
Yeah.
we were all in the same dorm room.
Dennis was technically across all, but I mean just like when random people came, that was like the game they played so that we didn't them at
Please don't use that word.
Per discussion from last week that you didn't get to be a part of, but
Right.
yeah.
The game that we play so that we didn't beat them summarily. Just don't.
beat them summarily at I didn't beat anyone summarily, but people who were good at Halo or Super
Right.
Smash Bros.
Yeah, it was Battlefield, but with stormtroopers. That's an interesting case because that developer went under in 2009. Their last game was the Saboteur. They were going to be making a Battlefront 3 for current gen consoles, but that was canceled along with it. They were also here. They were going to make another Mercenaries game, and they were scheduled to do a tie-in film or a tie-in game for The Dark Knight.
Interesting. Yeah, Joel calls out a couple different things that were really fun about the game, and I'll just touch on them because there's a lot here. But he calls out playing as the heroes is a really good time. He calls out the space fights, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah, the space fights were really good.
Were awesome.
Yeah, well, like that was like in 2 at least. It was hybrid between like space combat and then actually inside the ship combat as people boarded and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was kind of you had to get to the other ship. So that and I was no good at the dogfighting, so my strategy was always just to take I think the Y wings were the heaviest armored, maybe,
Right.
and just kind of rush the enemy's carrier, and then try to get inside and capture the base in there or do some damage at least. And then he also calls out the computer AI for actual games of capture the flag. Like it was really good. He calls that out, and then I also remember it being really, really good. Just you were able to kind of set up. You could play a multiplayer games just by yourself against computers and have a lot of fun that way.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to hear something creepy that ties this all together?
Maybe.
Pandemic's first game was Battlezone 2 in 1999.
So
Interesting.
basically, bring back any game made by Pandemic.
Casablanca. It's the circle of life.
Nice. So yeah. Star Wars Battlefront was
Nice.
Jules' nomination.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I mean, like I said, watch our channels for future discussion topics. You can follow any of us on Twitter. We will say that at the end, and also the Facebook. We really enjoy the opportunity to speak with you in this way. So, rats off to you.
The credit.
So that was level 5 of our program, our podcast. What can you do? Well, we've been pretty successful on iTunes, but that doesn't mean that you can stop, that you can let up. We would like to continue to go. So if you haven't rated us or reviewed us, you can go there and do those two things that I just said. And that does help get new people in. I'm seeing people comment that haven't commented on other things I've done. So it's working. So thank you. Other than that, if you're going to be doing any last minute Christmas shopping, holiday shopping, whatever you like to do, you can go to Duckfeed.tv/tipjar and use our Amazon referral link. Does not cost you a single extra cent, but it does help support the network. As these shows get more successful, they're more expensive to host. And yeah, it's neat. It's a neat thing for you to do for us. You can like us on Facebook. It is facebook.com/The Level Podcast. And I think that's it. Was I missing anything? Just keep downloading, subscribe, tell a friend, those good things. We can do the Twitter roll off when we do our things at the end. Yeah. So let's do this thing. Let's get done. Anyway, this has been Kole Ross. I am at Kole Ross on Twitter, KoleRoss.
I am Dennis Furia at DFuria on Twitter.
David Moneysmith at Moneysmith777 on Twitter.
Tritter, yes.
Twitter, yeah. It's Twitter.
Yeah.
It's a cooler one.
It's a new kind of Twitter.
And Ben Merkel at Merkelizer.
Yes. So thank you so much for listening, and keep on being awesome. And we will try to as well.
The perk in Black Ops that make Black Ops 2 that makes
Which
it
game?
So, wow. Kablops Z.
Say it with heart. Say it with feeling.
Kablops Z.
Kablops.
There we go. Okay.
I like Codblopsy, actually. I think that's cuter.
Codblopsy.
Yeah.
Sounds like a chill dude. That's just Codblopsy over there in the corner.